Hello and welcome to the grand finale of Sunday League Virtual Season 2 here in Interlagos. We have 20 AI, all of whom have fought for every single point using every single token this season. All the token spending's now done. Let's see what the cars can do here in Brazil. 50% rain. We've got a wet start to the qualifying session, although the track is drying out. We may see the fastest lap times set at the very end of the session. Always dramatic. I would run you through the upgrades. They're not that interesting for this week. There was a 100% chance of upgrades succeeding. Every team, bar PMP, chose speeds. They all succeeded. PMP got their acceleration upgrade. They become the final team to move out from having 3 on one of their stats. Acceleration now up to 4. Let's see if that gamble will pay off and not going with the norm. Instead of talking about upgrades, which are pretty dull for this race, let's be totally honest, I'll talk to you about the championships. If Kubo outscores Rito by 5 points or more, he is the world champion. If he finishes 8th, he can't win the world championship, unless he gets fastest lap. And if Rito wins, no matter what the results around him are, he is the world champion. Bluebell Boy is also in contention. He must win the race, with Kubo finishing 5th or lower and Rito 8th or lower. If Bluebell does not win the race, he stands no chance at the championship. Also regarding second place in the championship, if Bluebell outscores Kubo by 15 points, he does have a shot at second place in the world championship. If Bluebell finishes 4th or lower, he can't come second in the championship. If Kubo finishes 4th or higher, Bluebell can't come second in the championship. The top 3 spots all there for you. Let's see how the qualifying went for the very last race of the season. Bluebell Boy takes pole position by a very, very long way. G4 in the Phoenix Motorsports car, 4/10 off him, but still on the front row of the grid. That is absolutely astonishing. That is absolutely astonishing. Hernandi in 3rd place. I promise you, every single driver using 0 tokens for this race. Hernandi 3rd place for the Nuri Racing team. His teammate, Vlado204, 5th place. They have an outstanding car. G4 with the acceleration upgrade puts it on the front row. I can't believe it. Rito will start only 4th place. He's taken pole in the last 2 races, spending no tokens while others did spend some. Spuda will start in 6th place for the WTech team, notoriously good at tight, twisty, technical tracks where you need a lot of grip and a lot of acceleration. They've got that in that car. He starts 3rd row. The Spy Motorsport cars and the super fast racing, crucially, starting 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th have Menica, Vlado1, Levioso and Anti. That will be vital. If they can stay in these positions and make a few points up, that will be absolutely crucial for both Superfast Racing and Spy Motorsport, who, albeit are less of a threat of relegation. We'll run through the relegation thing very, very shortly. Ekolowski and Jake Brad lock out the 6th row for BAR, pretty much establishing them as a sort of midfieldy machine. Pit Crew starts 13th for Thunder X. Kubo down in 14th. One of our title contenders will have to come back through the field on a wet day here in Interlagos if he even stands a chance at the championship. Andres, 15th place for him. Game on Goose in 16th position. Urist 17th place. Grandy will start in 18th. Then we have Jaruni starting 19th and G4's teammate Sobel starting 18 positions behind him, down in last place on the field. That is the qualifying session. I do have the tokens up for you to see. They're also not very interesting because nobody's spending any today. Instead, I'll run you through the Constructors' Championship battle. That is very interesting. If Team Velocity do not secure a 1-2 finish, with BBB Forcex basically scoring no points, they are unable to win the championship. It is all but decided for the Fijian team. However, relegation, far from it. If SFR score 5 points or fewer, they are relegated to Challenger League Virtual. If they outscore Phoenix Motorsports by 7 points, with PMP scoring 2 or fewer, PMP are relegated. I think there's something right. If they outscore PMP, yes, if they outscore PMP by 7 points with PMP scoring 2 or fewer, PMP are relegated. The reason PMP scoring 2 or fewer is important is because if Phoenix Motorsports score 3 points, they will basically not be relegated because that brings them up to the level of, I could just show you the Constructors' Championship actually, that brings them up to the level of SPM and FVR. So, SFR trail by 6 points, they would not win a tiebreak, they need to outscore PMP by 7 points. If PMP score 3 points and SFR score 10, they are both safe unless SPM and FVR are both able to score some points. It is a direct face-off between SPM and FVR in the championship, tied on points, SPM only leading because of that win in Malaysia. That means they are ahead on the tiebreak, but FVR do stand a chance of going down. What needs to happen first is SFR to bring home some really good points, so do keep an eye on those cars. They need to score 7 points, at least 7 points to stand a chance. I'll keep you updated as the race goes on with how that's going. But for now, for the very last time this season, let's go racing here in Brazil. 5 lights ahead of the drivers, a dry start. For the very last time this season we're underway. Bluebell leads into the first corner, he's on the hards, G4 on the hards too. Hernandi on the softs, gets through on both of them. Hernandi into the lead of the race for KRT, who have not taken a race win this season. Could get one here today with a fantastic piece of machinery in the late races. Rito up through as well, Spuda also up. Terrible start from G4, he's just gone backwards from the start. Rito on the mediums flies past his teammate Bluebell. Will he be able to catch Hernandi? Hernandi is, remember, on the soft compound tyre. Vlad 02 snaking his way through there, looks a little half chance around the outside of Bluebell. Vlad 01 runs wide, but he is already up into 5th place or fighting there for it. That is crucial for the team who, if they score 10 points, are essentially all but safe here today. He's in 6th place at the moment. Vlad 02 trailing Spuda, trailing Bluebell Boy, then Rito, and Hernandi leads us away. Just to confirm there, in the Constructors' standings, the Nuri Racing team have finished 2nd 3 times this season, 3rd twice, not a single win. No wins for them. I'm not sure if they even managed one last season, come to think of it. So this would be absolutely crucial. Hetmenica to the outside of Vlad 01. The SPM's really giving hell to the SFR team, who they are indirectly competing for relegation with. SPM do stand a chance of being relegated, but they have a very solid car. You can see from the fact they're in 6th and 8th at the moment. We'll do a sort of rundown as we see Rito get passed by Spuda, who's on the soft compound tyre. It really looks like the softs are working today. And remember, taking the harder tyres really won't do you that many favours. Rito gets back through using a bit of boost. That's a good overtake from him. Taking the harder tyres won't do you all too many favours with the frequency of the rain, unless you get to the point where if you start on the hards, everyone else starts on the softs or the mediums, they go into pit for some new dry tyres, then the rain clouds come out and you immediately get a free pit stop on them. More scrapping going on. Rito does cross the line in 2nd position. Not a lot of runoff at the apex of turn 2. Spuda able to capitalise on the inside and get him back. This is a fantastic scrap between the WTech, who's now putting pressure on the race leader. WTech, who struggled with their speed all season long, having such good attributes in all other fields, getting them wins in Korea and Brest. And can they get one here today? Spuda just falls back. This is the place where he might just be a liability, but Bluebell is already closing in on his teammate. We have a 4-car train out in the lead. Bluebell has a half chance. Remember, they are teammates. They have the Constructors' Championship all but wrapped up, but they are still fighting over the Drivers' Championship. Bluebell may be a good 19 points back from his teammate, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to give it a really good chance. Anything can happen in these wet races here in Interlagos. Rito could very much find himself well down the order by the end of the Grand Prix. 54 laps today, a race that should take us well over the half-hour mark. The long season finale is a very enduring race for the drivers. Rito looks to have a little move to the outside of Spuda there. The rain is on the way for the first time this race. Vlado 2, the Nuri teammate, in 5th place. Vlado 1 still in 6th. Those 8 points currently with G4 and Sobel outside of the points will be enough. If they do score 8 points with PMP scoring none, that will be enough for SFR to survive for yet another season. PMP look like the solid favourites to go down at the start of the season. Double stacking here in the pit lane. Looks like all the drivers are choosing the wets. Vlado 2 loses a little bit of time there. Looks like he might have gone past Spuda in the late part of the lap. And Rito, crucially, loses quite a bit of time behind Bluebell, who now is into the lead of the race and does stand a very good chance of getting past Kubo in the championship. Kubo down in 9th place. Ahead of him, the SPMs, Hetmenica and Levioso, flying formation in 7th and 8th place. Het looks for a little move through these chicanes in the middle sector of the lap. Particularly tight corners, particularly intensive for grip cars, and that's really going to cost you if you scrap through there. G4 out of the points already from his front row start. It looks like that car just turned on in the qualifying session, not in the race. Grandy takes 11th place off him, and Antti and Vlad will be licking their lips if Vlad can keep this 6th place position as it stands. They will beat PMP by a single point in the championship. No, by 2 points in the championship if they can manage this. Remember, 7th place will not be good enough unless Antti were to also finish in the top 10. Because if they tie on points, PMP have 2 wins this season in Baku and of course Kyle Army last race. The tiebreak would go in PMP's favour and SFR would be relegated for the long 3rd season of SLV. 2nd season of CLV ahead of them. We'll have a little look down in the outer reaches of the top 10. Jake Brand looking to get some points for BAR, who are the team above SPM and FVR in the standings. Not a super huge relegation threat for them today, but it's not impossible if all of their competitors score points. We're getting some clouds that are coming back just for the moment. Yeah, it should be a really interesting fight here. I will just put the driver standings down in the corner. No, that's not really visible, is it? Never mind. Back to full screen we go. Right, that was worth a try at least. G4 looking to put some pressure on the point scoring positions. 10th place will be really crucial for him if Vlado 1 finishes in 6th, because 9th place would deny SFR their late comeback. But let's have a little look at the front pack. Rito trailing his teammate Bluebell, who these two pretty much having had the best car all season long, inherited from the departed comedy racing team. They won the raffle, they won the new team slots, and they have taken it and ran with it. Scored points in every single race bar 1 this season, which is just an incredible effort from the team. Bluebell's late charge with 3 token spend races did not seem to particularly work. He got 2 podiums and then a 4th place last race. No wins for him with 9 tokens spent. Rito had a great deal more luck as we see Hernandi go down the inside at turn 4. Rito had a great deal more luck with that, getting 2 wins on just 2 tokens. He has proven himself as a fantastic driver who has fought, you know, tooth and nail for the championship right down to the wire in both seasons of Sunday League Virtual, and I can't really see him getting denied it here today by a Team Velocity car. Although Kubo is on his rise back up the field, he's in 8th place already. He did get past Hetmenica. His next car on the agenda is Levioso. Het has dropped back significantly from his teammate, about 3 or 4 seconds separating them now when they were running next to each other. Het is going to look to scrap back at Kubo, if not for himself, then just for delaying him from catching Levy, because, you know, anything is possible in this race. It's not going to be a linear comeback as Het goes all the way around the outside. Can't quite get the room on the inside into the next sweeping left-hander. He will get a good run though down into the last corner, and they do go through, and Hetmenica does take 8th place back, and that will not be good enough for Kubo, who needs to start charging through as fast as he can. The rain has been flittering around. We're getting heavy rain at the moment, but the clouds will be coming back. There's not a great deal of standing water on the track, but all drivers are currently on the wet weather tyres. Vlad 01, all the pressure lies on his shoulders to be the saviour of the super fast racing team. If he can manage this 6th place finish, he's lying right on the cusp of where he can finish and still keep the team in Sunday League Virtual. We'll focus back up at the leaders. It looks like Rito has been passed by Hernandez up into 2nd place. Remember, all same aged wets, and we're starting to get some of the backmarkers lap now. Sobel having real difficulty right down the order, unlike his teammate G4, who had a much better start to the race. Hernandez held behind Sobel. Can he get through? Rito's now stuck there. They're 3 abreast going into turn 1. Rito's taking a much wider line, still stuck behind Sobel. He'll zoom past him on the outside. Slight track limits breach there. And gets all squirrely, loses traction coming out of that corner. Wouldn't surprise me, because the track is about to be dry. Rito still giving it everything to scrap on the inside of Hernandez. Vlad 02, 04, Levioso and Hetmenica are the first cars into the pit lane. They take the early gamble. Vlad 01, interestingly, up into 6th place. Because of that, he needs to keep it really tight, and he doesn't, as they all enter the pit lane now. Bluebell looks like he had to enter it really late. That's compromised him a little bit. Vlado 2 with the undercut is going to get into the lead of the race if he can get past Bluebell here, which he does. A fantastic undercut from the Romanian driver, and gotten himself from not even competing for the podium places, unlike Hernandez and Rito behind Bluebell. 1 lap was all he needed. He fired up the soft tyres immediately on what is still a cold and damp track, and he got that undercut. Most of the field, in fact most drivers from 2nd down to 17th are on the hard compound tyre. Only 5 drivers not on it, being Hernandez, Levioso, Hetmenica, G4 and Pit Crew. The last one the only one being on the soft compound tyre. But Vlado 2 has taken the race lead off Bluebell. Remember, this is not going to be all that consequential without Kubo being in the fight yet. He's still struggling in 9th place. They just don't have the straight line speed in that Team Velocity car around this copy of Interlagos, which through the middle sector, particularly in the rain, is so grip intensive. But coming out of turn 3 and coming up through the final corners down that very long main straight, you need the straight line speed, and it looks like the gamble of P&P that could have saved them from relegation isn't going to pay off. They should have gone for the speed upgrade. It does have some tight corners, but not nearly to the extent of a track like Kyle Army, where you have these long straight, tight corner, long straight, tight corner. You don't drop the revs all that much through Brazil, unless you're in the middle sector, and even then you're not actually getting back up to full speed. We'll go on board with Kubo now. You can see him going through here, and then he immediately has to brake again, winds his way through. This is when he starts going full throttle. This is a pretty easy flat out corner, and then you carry that speed all the way down the main straight, and he's just losing time to the cars sort of around him, particularly. Vlad 01 still in 6th place. He was not undercut in the wet conditions by the SPM cars, but they have closed up to him a little bit. However, Spuda is not altogether that far up the road, nor is Hernandez from Vlad. The KRT teammates are absolutely scrapping it out. Who would have thought that in a race where nobody was spending any tokens and teammates had the same ability in the same car to fight, that they'd be fighting each other on track? Genuinely baffles me. Rito out in the lead of the race. He's taken it back from Vlad 02, who has dropped back significantly on those soft compound tyres. He's not pitted off them. The entire field has made the same 2 pit stops so far in this Grand Prix. But he's just not found the pace, and he's dropped behind his teammate Hernandez, and he's going to be dropping further until he comes into the pit lane. He should be in pretty shortly, because an undercut would be the only thing that could get him back up, and then he just has to hope for very conveniently timed rain. The BFX is out on the hards. The hards doing really well for them. Their grip is not altogether that bad. They should be doing pretty well out in this race. They are. The KRT's finally getting a chance to flex their muscles a little too late, really, because they've had a good car for the last couple races. Not been able to do a whole lot with it. and now the regulation change will be coming along, but they can move themselves up in the constructors still. If we have a look at the constructors, they are only 21 points behind the WTEC team. WTEC sitting in 3rd, KRT sitting in 4th as it stands. KRT, Spuda still in contention there. Spuda will be scoring 12 points, Hanandi 15, and Vlad has dropped back further. He's now behind his namesake Vlado1, who is down in 7th position. Levioso got through on Vlado1 just very, very recently, and that could be the make or break moment. He needs 6th position or higher. Bluebell and Rito fighting it out on track still, and we'll have a look at the driver's standings as well. This has basically sealed the deal for them. In the constructors, they'll go side by side, so we'll pause off on looking at the driver's standings while we let the two giants of the sport, the multiple time podium sitters for each of them. Rito scraps back around the outside. It's a drag race out of the final corner, up the main straight, and they do sort themselves out. Bluebell back into the race lead. He could take his first race win of the season. He failed to do it in any of the last 3 races when he was spending 3 tokens, but could do it this race while spending none. Driver standings, Rito, remember, is still 19 points ahead of his teammate who's currently leading this race, but this is going to be a pretty straightforward championship for Rito if Kubo is unable to get himself back up through the standings. We'll have a look at the other battles. Spuda is going to have a strong finish to the season if he can finish in 4th place. Bluebell takes the slipstream from Rito, who did get him back through the final part of the lap there and snakes down the inside through the center S's. They will constantly swap positions, which probably is losing them time. Again, we're just sort of waiting on the rain to come back. We're nearly at half race distance here in Interlagos. Rito back to the inside through the chicanes. Bluebell will stick it through around the outside. G4 might get in the way of them. Bluebell just needs to be careful here with the Argentinian driver. Get slightly stuck behind him, again, and then just loses time to him. G4 peels off into the pit lane. Spuda will end the season strong. We're looking at the other points runners, Hanandi and Vlado2, currently in 13th place and 5th place in the standings. Hanandi has had a much worse season than his counterpart, than his teammate, but Vlad could make gains up the table. He is 14 points behind Spuda though, so you do have to wonder about that one. If he's only beating him by 1 position out on the racing track. We'll have a little look at the battle down in the points paying positions, because Hanandi and Vlad are running very nice and comfortably in 3rd and 4th. The story is not the same lower down the order, with Vlado1 running in 7th place. Kubo has gotten through on him. He's finally been able to get through up the field, but this is at the expense, remember, that he hasn't pitted yet. We'll have a look at the front runners. They need to come into pit too. They're still battling on their very, very old hard compound tyres. This is not helping you boys. This is not how you're going to be able to win this race. Take your first ever 1-2 finish. You need to sort your shit out and actually win the race. They both come into pit. Rito's going to get double stacked here. They're very tight into the pit lane. Hanandi and Vlad not too far behind. Rito gets the big screw there. Will Hanandi come through and take the positions off them? It doesn't look like he'll be able to, but he isn't that far behind them still. He's on the hards, they're on the mediums. They should use this stint to be able to just break away. They're still going to fight through it. Expectedly, Hanandi and Vlad where they were, 3rd and 4th, Spuda in 5th, Vlado1 in 6th. He had some real issues because he was battling with Levioso, who may be the person who sinks the ship of SFR. These two great friends in real life, but all the gloves come off when you come onto the racing track. Lev looks at a half move around the outside, keeps it on the inside for the sweeper. Can he just point the front wing of his car in any direction to be able to get him back up through a position? He gets a good exit out of the final corner. They're lapping Urist here. They might need to be careful of him. Lev takes a wide line through the final straight up into the first corner. Vlad keeps it tidy to the apex. Lev uses a lot of boost but gets a little bit shaky on the racing line coming out through there. Vlad for now still holding 6th place. Kubo and Hetmenica fighting lower down the field. Kubo went for a large overcut there. He is back past Het still. We could see him potentially from the end by the end of the race breaches the top 6, the top 5, where that car more so deserves to be, and they do have the overtaking abilities of course. They are a good car, the VLO. They've been consistently the second or third best all season. But as I say that, Eurus is down in 16th. It just seems to be Kubo's season. Because Eurus is performing absolutely terribly. I mean, he's so far off his teammate. He's a lap down from his teammate. 32 laps in, using the same amount of tokens in the exact same machinery. Lev and Vlad, still the battle we're focusing on. Lev gets a really good exit. Vlad covers off the apex. Coming up the final straight, Lev switches to the outside. Can he craft a move? He just has to slightly lift off coming into the corner. He keeps it very tidy to the apex though, but he does lose time with Vlad using a little bit of boost that will propel his car further ahead. Kubo and Hetmenica down there. Het's fallen off the back of his teammate just a tad here. Grandy in 10th place. That'd be very respectable for the ThunderX team to finish off the season. So as it stands, ThunderX scoring 1 point, SBM scoring 2 and 6, which would be 8 points. And then we've got Vlad lapping his teammate now. He's up into 5th position. So Spuda, not even pitting, has been passed by Vlad because those mediums are now more worn than the hards. This is a fantastic position for the Russian to be in to save his team's bacon if he can. You'd almost feel bad for PMP because the team has come so far this season. They started the season with the very, very worst car. It's by such a long way if you look at the development index. They just got totally screwed by the regulation change. They only managed 2 upgrades in 8 races last season, and they've recovered extraordinarily. They got back into that midfield pack, but it might be, if I could say that, as it looks like Goose was taken off by Hernandi there, which has lost Hernandi time pretty badly, but he is still in 3rd place. His teammate might close in on him though, and he does lose touch with the BFXs. They've recovered so well. They climbed back up into the midfield. They grabbed every single upgrade that they could that came their way, and at the end of the day it just might not be enough. They might be beaten in the very last race by a car that historically has performed well at no token races, and Vlado1 very much showing that today. 5th place for him. Vlado2 pits and comes out still ahead. He's looking on for a very, very comfortable top 4 finish here today. The KRT clearly the 2nd best car, and the straight line speed clearly helping them out a great deal. Right, Bluebell leading this race. Rito has dropped back from his teammate quite a lot. They're on the same tyre, the same age tyre. There's only actually 17 laps left in this race, so any late charge from Rito will have to start being built up now. Hernandi in 3rd, Vlad in 4th, Vlad other one in 5th. Still Levioso into the box. Spuda will pass him, so will Kubo. That's really interesting. Kubo not having pitted yet still, but he is in 6th position. It's not looking great for him. Remember, Bluebell needs to outscore him by 15 points today. If Bluebell wins and Kubo finishes 5th or lower without the fastest lap of the race, then Bluebell will make it not just a 1-2 in the race for the BFX cars, but a 1-2 in the championship. Kubo, who has fought up to the very, very last here, just failing qualifying here today, starting 14th place. He's clearly had the car to recover up into the good points paying positions, but it won't be enough for the championship, and that is the crucial factor at such a huge track. So much of the lap is taken flat out, yet you're still putting in 33-second lap times. Kubo holding up Spuda and Levy, who both now fold through. Can Kubo get a half chance back at them? No, those mediums are absolutely done. Rain is on the way though. That has played perfectly for Kubo, as if energized by that news, gets back past Levy, who has just pitted for mediums. That is astonishing. Kubo will emerge from the pit lane side by side with Spuda, ahead of Levioso, and in 7th place. I wouldn't get too excited. He doesn't have a lot of laps left to do it, but there is potential here. Still in dry conditions, they drift well off the track, and Kubo uses all of his liberty there and all of the track limits that he can to drift through on Spuda. The track is finally wet now. Vlado1, the final car, into the pit lane. The heavy rain is coming, so those lower down the order, such as Andres, Anti, Pikra and Jaruni, putting on the inters, will not be enjoying life. Vlado1 has slapped on the wets and emerges still in 5th place. That is so vital for his race. He needs a quiet, comfortable 14 laps here to the end to save his team. to save his team from relegation down to the second tier of virtual motorsport. Can he do it? Hernandez still leads his teammate, only just 1.9 seconds between them. But Hernandez looking pretty comfortable so far. Rito now a long ways off his teammate. I wonder if Rito maybe came in a lap earlier for pit. Yeah, you can see on the pit stop counter, he definitely did. He came in for a 5th stop. Bluebell has only done 4, and this race win looking more and more likely for Bluebell. This was also hugely playing into Vlado 1's hands. He hadn't made his 5th stop yet, nor had Grandi, who was in 10th place, keeps 10th place. And is a full pit stop ahead of 11th. He will end the season scoring points for Thunder X. The SBM's screwed over to a certain degree, well back from his teammate now. 9th and 8th for them still is not at all bad. Spuda chasing down Kubo. This is the battle for 6th position. Not a huge deal left in it because it looks like Bluebell is on course to absolutely destroy them both. He was the driver ahead of Spuda and behind Kubo in the championship. We can have one more look at the driver's standings coming into this race. Bluebell on 85, Kubo ahead on 99, Spuda behind on 77. Kubo, remember, does, if Bluebell scores 25 points and goes up to 110, Kubo does need that 4th place finish, and he is about 11 seconds off it at the moment. 6th only for him, closing in on Vlad. The big concern for Vlad is keeping this pace to the end of the race, because if he can't do it, if he does get caught by Kubo, he falls into the clutches of Spuda and then Levy, not really Het, but 7th place would not be good enough for him. He needs to keep at least one of, if not both, Kubo and Kubo and Spuda behind him, because that will be so vital for him. No real tight battles higher up the field. The rain does tend to spread out cars a little bit, but Kubo makes a mistake there. Looks like he was really close to the back of Vlado 1, but then he made a huge error into turn 1. Was that caused by Andres, Spuda's teammate, as Spuda flies through to take 6th place? That's cost them both time and been very helpful for Vlad, but he's swamped by a pair of FVRs who know that they're in danger too if PMP can get on the score sheet. They are nowhere near the points, 19th and 20th in the worst car on the field. There and Sobel, it's a reunion of relegation teams. They're going to cause Vlad as many issues as they possibly can. Sobel will get his elbows out. This is your final reminder of the season that lapped cars have no obligation to get out of the way as Vlad tries to pick his way through them. He really needs to get a move on because Kubo is right behind him and Spuda right behind him. Levioso closed up to the back of Spuda. Even still, Hernandez has been got by his teammate Vlado too, who's up through now. Sun coming back will have one final soft stint to the end of the race. Vlado won in what has been a race where the rain has poured down at times here in Interlagos, has played it so nicely, saved himself a pit stop through running long on the tyres and getting the luck of the rain when he needed it most for his team. He has just 8 laps and 1 sector left to navigate to the finish line. We are 27 minutes into this Sunday League virtual race, but it is all but over for those battling outside the podium positions. Bluebell looks to have the win wrapped up. He is lapping the likes of, and we can get a good view of the battle over 7th and 8th. Spuda dropping down. He's fighting with Levy in the background. Then Rito running very much on his own. He's got a sector to himself. Potentially room to make up on Bluebell, but I wouldn't count on it entirely. He's definitely performed better than Bluebell a lot of the time this season when they've been, equal tokens or whatever it may be, but just across the races generally, and that's why he will still win the championship. But it has been a valiant effort by Bluebell, and he's keeping the pace ahead still. Vlado won just 1.8 seconds ahead of Kubo, but the gap to Levy has grown. Levy takes some grass there, and the track will dry up now. I'm surprised nobody's come in immediately. It looks like Vlado 2 will be the first car in the front pack to come into the pit lane. Grandi and it looks like Menica were also in earlier. Double stack just about avoided for KRT. They timed that really nicely, so neither holds the other up. And Vlado1 will come in to double stack with his teammate Anti. They do get held behind G4 in the pit lane. They pile into the earlier pit box due to their decent finishing position last season in Sunday League Virtual. But G4 will cause problems on the exit of the pits here. Anti is going to look to fucking clobber him if he can. Kubo behind in 6th place, still Levioso in 7th. This is the order. We'll have a look at the constructors standings for now. Remember, SFR 82 points. It will be 92 if Vlado1 can hold on to that 10th position. Phoenix Motorsports not scoring any points. G4 in 12th. Sobel down in 19th position. They will head down if they can't, if there's no real opportunity for them to score points anymore. It looks like G4 is not in the position to do so. He's 21 seconds off the point scorers, nearly lapped by Grandy, who is coming through the first corner as G4 just goes towards the middle sector now. Spuda still hunting down Levy. This has been the battle for 7th and 8th for quite a while here in Interlagos. Their only chance is Vlad finishing 7th. That is the only way that they can actually be saved here. Spuda to the outside of Levioso will get through. The rain is coming back, ladies and gents, just as Kubo, not sure if he's being lapped or just unlapped himself from Bluebell, but this will once again just stop the race. We get a lot of cars into the pits now, actually. The KRTs particularly are in. Bluebell has gone another lap on the softs. How's that treating him? He's having real difficulties with the pretty fast car of Kubo, who he is still battling in the championship. Kubo runs wide. Bluebell uses him a battering ram. What will the drivers do now? Because if the track's dry, you would definitely stay out on the softs, would you not? Interesting strategic calls. No, everyone is into the pit lane. I think they just deem a short stint on the wets because it's not really going to dry out in time. So there's no point gambling it. But Spuda and Levioso are on the inters. Hetmenica with the undercut does come through to take the positions. Vlad looking pretty comfortable for the moment. The leaders nearly starting their very, very last lap of the Sunday League Virtual season. The battle for the midfield looks like it might just be drawing to a close here, but Spuda, do not underestimate the chance of a late charge through. Will they even attempt? Het piles into the pit lane. With 2 laps to go, he comes immediately off his old tyres onto new ones, but the rain's coming back. Oh dear, we're getting the most dramatic finale to this race. It doesn't look like many have actually come off those tyres, but Het had to pit for new wets, and that's pushed him right out of the contention there. He's being lapped by Hernandi now, and it's absolute chaos. The interrunners are going to be fine in these dry conditions, but once the rain starts pouring, Bluebell wins the race, but Rito will cross the line as champion. For the very first time in Sunday League Virtual, he was snubbed of it right at the death last season, but he takes the championship now. The KRTs will finish 3rd and 4th, their best points scoring of the season. Rito is your world champion, and it's a double championship for them. The BFX team take the constructors in dominant fashion. Vlado1 will finish 5th place and save Superfast Racing from relegation. Kubo only manages 6th. He'll fall to 3rd place in the driver's standings. Spuda takes 7th. Levioso in 8th. Hetmenica will take 9th position, a lap up from G4, who needed to score points today and didn't manage it. Grandy will take 1 point for the Thunder X team. Jake Brad will be just outside the points paying positions. But it has been the day of days for Bluebell and BFX, who win both championships here today. Bluebell wins the race, Rito wins the Drivers' Championship, BFX win the Constructors, Vlado2 and Hernandi 3rd and 4th for KRT. Vlado1 in the most incredible and, to be honest, totally unexpected performance will finish in 5th place, and SFR will be in Sunday League Virtual next season. That is an amazing comeback right at the death. He needed to perform in the final race. He needed 6th or higher, and he's actually managed it. What an unbelievable performance. Kubo will take 6th place. The recovery through the field from 14th place, very admirable. He made up 8 positions in what is a fast car, but not anywhere near enough, and he'll fall down to 3rd in the Drivers' Championship. Spuda in 7th position here today. A good final outing for the season. The SBM team that originally came into this looking like they had the potential to be a relegation candidate, but they've scored double points here today. Could have been even more, but they did have some bad luck at the very end. Levioso takes 8th position with 4 points. At Medica, 2 points for 9th, and Grandi will take a solitary point for 10th place. For the final time, we'll look at the drivers outside of the top 10. Jake Brad in 11th place. G4 will take 12th for the Phoenix Motorsports team that will no longer be in Sunday League Virtual next season, despite their very best efforts from a comeback this season. The team that finished last in the Constructors last time out so nearly saved themselves with a race win last time, but they couldn't manage it. Andres, 13th place for the WTEC team. Urist in 14th for Team Velocity. EK will take 15th for BAR. He is rumoured to not be at the team anymore next season. The newly promoted team from Challenge League Virtual, owned by Kamikaze, is interested in taking him off the hands of the BAR team. Pit Crew will finish 16th place, another driver rumoured not to be on the grid for next season. Anti, 17th place for him, and Superfast Racing. He won't be all too happy with finishing 2 minutes off the race leader, but he will be absolutely delighted with his team staying in Sunday League Virtual. Game On Goose will take 18th place. His teammate takes 20th. The FVR team would have had a real struggle staying up had there been a few more races in this season, because their car at the very end was dismal. Sobel takes 19th position here today. Thank you so much for watching Sunday League Virtual Season 2. I hope you've enjoyed every single one of the 12 races over the last 3 months, 2-3 months, since we began this journey in August. We've got a long off season ahead of us, but Sunday League Virtual will return for its 3rd season with a new team, with a huge regulation change, and with many more features. Until then, for the final time, bye bye.